We're just gonna do it. Hey everyone, Works here. No intro on this video. We're getting right into this. I've hinted that this video is coming. If you've seen my community post, I mentioned March 5th. It was going to be a video that was very personal and very heavy. And this is that video. I put it on Twitter and other things like that as well, if you follow me on those social channels at all. Um, so I was going to make this video after I got home from work, but it's a little after midnight, so it's officially March 5th where I'm at as I record this now. I struggled to sleep. I kind of knew that I would. Um, because March 5th is going to be a day that I mark for the rest of my life. Um, it's going to mark what is probably one of the three most influential events in my life, behind the birth of my son and legitimately probably still to this day, the day that I met my ex-wife, as probably the most influential events. And before I explain what it is, I just want to start off by saying that there is trigger warnings that will be associated with this video. We are going to be discussing subjects that could be triggering to people that have their own trauma, particularly involving self-harm, self-abuse, and suicide. So if you find those things triggering, I'm going to ask that you stop watching this video now, because I want your safety to be paramount, and putting yourself through something that is potentially damaging to you simply to give me watch time is not worth it for this video. So if you clicked on this and you feel uncomfortable now, I'm sorry, but you've been warned. So as you can probably tell by the thing that I just said, 2 years ago today, I made an attempt to end my life. It's quite a long story, but the short version, basically, or the medium version, I guess, is that my mental health had been spiraling for a while, and I was too stubborn and too arrogant and investing in the wrong things to make any sort of necessary plea for help. I was angry at my job. I was angry with my relationship. I was angry with my children. I was angry with me. And because of that, I lost it all. My stepdaughter told my ex-wife that she was afraid to be in the same room with me because she was worried about what I would do. My ex-wife told me that she didn't want to be married anymore. I wasn't going to be moving into the house that I helped build as a result of it. And then to top it off, I'd been fired from my job. 9 years of service thrown down the drain, where I was still working for a good company. I was just under what I felt was a bad leadership chain at that point. We had been colliding and butting heads. My mental health wasn't helping. I refused to get help. And March 5th was what I hope was the low point. I had a plan. I was going to take a recently filled bottle of my antidepressant medication and down every single pill all at once. I wrote a note apologizing to everyone for failing them, because I had failed as a father, I had failed as a husband, I had failed as a provider, and I had failed as a man in my mind. I had nothing left to give and nothing left to live for. Now, by the grace of whatever, the cosmos, I'm not a religious person, so I don't feel like it was by the grace of God, but I They were definitely something that the world was doing that day. My stepdaughter was with other family. My wife had gone out with her friends, so it left me and, at the time, my 4-year-old son alone. And I'm convinced there are two things that happened that saved me that day. One was kind of by accident, and that was I texted her, my ex, and begged her to come home. And it wasn't because I wanted her to do anything for me, it's because I wanted her to get my son out of the house so that he didn't have to see his dad die. Now, my son was playing in his room, being the great little boy that he is. And I was sitting in a chair, mustering the will to do it. And just as I'd gotten to the point where I felt like I could take the pills down, he saw that I was crying, crawled into my lap, laid his head right here, and simply said, "Daddy, you don't have to cry. It's going to be okay." He was 4, and he was more world smart than me in that moment. Of course, it made me cry harder, as it still does today, but it forced me to take my hands off of the things in my hand, off the bottle, off the note, and hug him. And he let me hug him for, it felt like quite a long time, but it was probably only 2 to 3 minutes. But in that moment, all the will that I had built up drained. Not long after that, she came home. She connected all the dots. She called my parents, and I went and stayed with them for the rest of the weekend, basically on watch. My son is about to turn 7 in 2 days. And I don't know if I will ever tell him that he was a big reason that his dad is still on this earth today. But he is, because I don't think it's fair to put the pressure of daddy's savior on a child. So maybe one day, 10, 15 years down the line, I'll tell him. I stayed on watch at my parents' house. I binge watched the Netflix show Arcane all weekend, and it helped, at least in that moment, pull me away from everything, the world, my reality. I got lost in a TV show, and I think I needed it. Not long after, I got professional help and was able to rebuild coping skills and slowly pull away from the foundation and begin to prepare myself for this new chapter in my life. It would take 3 or 4 more months before I fully accepted that my relationship with my ex-wife was over. We had been married 9.5 years or something like that at that time. We'd been together for 14 or something like that. Basically, my entire adult life. And it was a new reality. Particularly because she had already spent years grieving the loss of her relationship and moved on what many people would seem as quickly. Luckily, to this day, there's a good friendship that's maintained. And while there are always going to be tensions, I think, over what happened, and as we navigate the co parenting world, I'm still very lucky to have that woman in my life because she was a big influence on me in a lot of good ways. I spent the rest of 2022 surviving. 2023, I got my job that I've officially been at for 1 year and began truly healing. And it took time. In some ways, I healed quickly. In other ways, I still haven't healed. But I made it. I thought that I'd gotten away from those darkest of thoughts. Which brings me to this year. This year has been a whirlwind. Mentally, I've been in a pretty difficult place for most of the year. I go through depressive episodes, they generally last a week. And then, I move past them. I've got an okay foundation of coping skills that I'm continuing now to strengthen some more. But sometimes it still gets very intense. But never to that point until this year. I had a depressive episode that started in late January, and I kind of knew that it was going to be different after a couple of days because the normal signs that I feel in myself weren't there. And for the first time in almost 2 years, I had thoughts about regret that my attempt failed. That I should have taken that damn bottle. I didn't tell my family this time. I think my ex-wife knew that wasn't doing okay, but nobody knew to the extent. And in some ways, I'm still working out of it, but I survived. And what this most recent episode has taught me is the value of support systems and learning how to be open to them. So, yeah, I survived. If I could go back to that day and grab future me by the shoulders, I would tell him, you will live. And that there are a ton of wonderful things that are going to happen to you that you won't appreciate right now, but you will in 2 years, in 3 years, in 5 years. There are things that I'm sure I don't appreciate now that I will later on. And I want to transition to talking about the good things that I've experienced in these past 2 years. Number one, I have a home of my own for the first time in a long time. I'm living by myself, which has been an adjustment, a learning curve. But I'm not living in an attic like I had been for all of 2022 and 2023. I've met a number of awesome people, both in my real life, but most importantly for me, online. Um, from my coworkers who are, you know, I wouldn't necessarily say we're all like super friends. I mean, who are with their coworkers, except for there's always the one. And my front office woman is like my big sister. And she knows that. I've told her. But I have a tremendous team that I work with every day. And the times that we all get together in person, because we work in two office locations that are a couple hours apart, it's always fun. And that's the most important thing is it's fun to go to work still, despite the fact that I drive an hour plus to and from. I have some pretty cool neighbors. Every Wednesday, I go sit with the folks little community burn barrel that we have, and we all take 45 minutes and just chat for a few minutes. And it's something I look forward to every week now. And I've gotten some cool experiences. I started doing reaction videos originally as a way to cope with all the loss that I had experienced at the early part of 2023. But it's become something that is fun to do, and seeing the people that have come into the comments and enjoy the work that I do and talk about it with me. And I found out recently all my stuff gets posted into the discords of these groups that I admire, and that's cool. So for you, the reaction people that come into my comments on every reaction video, I appreciate you guys so much. Even you guys just saying, I love this, or great reaction, or I thought this insight was cool, meant a lot to me. And I don't remember who it was. I think it was in my Cold Below video. Someone said that they've really seen growth in my videos over the last almost 2 years that I've been doing them. And that meant a lot. And I appreciate that. Um, I found a new WoW guild. Currently, we're called Live Laugh Lobotomy, but there's a bunch of really neat people in there. And some of them might be watching this. And if you are, I'm sorry that this is how you found out about my mental health trauma. But just know that you guys have been making the game fun in a way that I haven't felt in a while. And I love you guys so much. Um, and finally, uh, there's one person in the community that she's built around her, and that is Adine, who is a streamer and to me a pillar of the WoW community, someone that we should all aspire to be more like. She accepted me into her little Discord community, and it's called the Aquarium. She's you know got marine science in her life, and so it only makes sense, right? Um, but that community right now is the safest space that I know. Um, for a bunch of different reasons that I won't go into. There's a lot of trauma and tendencies that I have where I struggle to feel accepted and like I'm part of something. And that Discord has done everything in its power to make me feel like I am safe there, that I can speak freely within reason and just be part of something that is kind of bigger than all of us, community of understanding and love and trust. And Adine is the pillar of that. She's let me be a little small part of her life in whatever way through different means. And when I had my depressive episode in January, February, and I'm still kind of working my way through as right now, they were the community that caught the brunt of it from me, and yet they never judged me. They offered support. A few people reached out individually and checked on me, and others did too from the guild and things like that. But to the aquarium, I'm both apologizing for laying that out on you guys and eternally grateful that you guys still want me around, seemingly. So, yeah. I finally did tell my family what I was going through. My parents just let me go over there one day after work and just yell. And that was good. And they continue to be amazingly supportive, as do my brothers. In their own sibling way, we all still support the fuck out of each other. And even my ex-wife, when I got this job, she was happy for me. When I got this place, she was happy for me. She kept a lot of my stuff that she knew was important to me and didn't throw it away, even though she would have been well within her right to toss it. This desk that this computer sits on is one of them. She gave me a table that's kind of like a pseudo coffee table for me now. She kept my bike, and I've been trying to get back to writing. There's just I've got a great support system around me. And I still have my boy who's excited to see me every time I go to pick him up. Unprompted, last time I had him, he called me the best dad ever. And I was driving him to mini golf, and it took everything in my power not to crash the car because it made me tear up. He's the best son I've got. Skip that he's the only one. I'm back in therapy. I was in between therapists as part of this whole latest episode, and I'm back in therapy now, and she's great. I really look forward to talking with her. Our next session is actually tomorrow, so I'm really looking forward to that. I get excited to go to therapy, which is, to me, a good sign. I'm going to wrap this up by just tell someone. If you're struggling, tell someone. You never know who's going to be there for support. There's a bunch of people I didn't even mention. I don't want this video to be much longer, but there is someone out there that loves and supports you and will hear you. Now I'm going to put numbers for the suicide hotlines in the US. I think Canada has one too. I'll put it there. But please, if you're in Europe or South America, wherever it is that you're watching this from, know the number. Even if it's not for you, it could be for someone that you care about that you know is struggling. I'm happy to be here. I am. It doesn't always feel like it. It probably doesn't always seem like it if you are around me more often than not. But I'm happy to be here. I'm glad that I'm able to make this video because 2 years ago I wouldn't have been able to. I didn't want to. If you've watched all the way to the end of this video, 24.5 minutes, thank you. It means a lot that you decided to take a chunk of time out of your day to listen to me. And I appreciate that. So, no grandiose ending, just reach out to your friends and those that you love and care about and check in on them. Because for all you know, you might be the one person that can save them and make them feel wanted. Love Love you guys. We'll get back to more fun stuff next time. I promise.